Welcome to the Stage 3 install series. This first video is the installation of the TTE710. Stage 3 consists of all of the bolt-ons that you have on the Stage 2, but now we're adding an upgraded turbo, an upgraded high-pressure fuel pump, and some upgraded injectors. This particular video is an install-only video on the TTE710 from the Turbo engineers. That's me putting on a brand new turbo onto my car, and then we'll get into any of the reviews, the 0 to 60 times, any of the track and dyno results, and all that kind of stuff in a later video. Additional Stage 3 components include a high-pressure fuel pump and upgraded injectors. Those we'll be covering in later install videos, but in this one you'll also notice there's a few other additions that we've got to the car. You'll see that we are working with IE to see how fast we can make the car, so because of that they sent us a bunch of their parts. You'll see us installing the new downpipe as well as the inlet and their intake, and we think it makes for a pretty good setup. And to put our money where our mouth is, we'll be hitting the track later on to see how fast we can make the S5 go. Maybe we can hit a 10-second or less quarter mile, hopefully. Also, a special thanks to Brock Mitchell, who put an original tutorial together, which I followed to get the installation done. This video is meant to be a companion to his install. We'll put the link down below in the description. Thanks again, Brock. You're the man. With all of that out of the way, let's get into the install. Here we go. All right, so first things we want to do is just check the turbo here. Make sure that there's no dings or any imperfections. Not that TTE would send you a turbo with imperfections, but I had a slight little dent, and I don't know if it happened whenever. I reached out to them, they said just take a flat file, just kind of file it down, which I did. So we filed this little nub down, and then there was a little rough edges here. We just made sure it was completely flat because we don't want any boost leaks anywhere. So go through, you also want to make sure that you check the shaft on the compressor wheel. Make sure it's going to have a little play, maybe side to side, just ever so slightly, but you want to make sure that it doesn't pull in and out. This one is solid, really good. It's really exciting. Can't wait to get this thing on the car. So there's a parts list in the description. I got all the links to where you need to go. Again, thank you to Brock Mitchell, who provided the initial list that I used for this video and installing the turbo in my car. We got all the parts in. Use the links that I provide. Some of these are pretty straightforward. Others, I'm gonna be honest, I've gone through the tutorial. We'll have to see where they go. Pockets.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, we're gonna start by removing the engine cover. And if you can't get past this part, find another person to install your turbo.
So you've got your deep well 13 millimeter.
Deep well 13 millimeter in socket just to break these bolts loose, and then you can just unscrew them by hand. Get this heat shield off and out of the way. Don't forget the clip on the wire like I just did. Pull that up, that's for your O2 sensor. And expose the new the old turbo and the big beautiful red star exhaust downpipe.
I think that's pretty nice.
Sure is. So next is the O2 sensor. We'll pull this off right here. There's just a little keeper for the wire. You want to disconnect the wires so that you don't twist the wires that go into the sensor when you unbolt it. Next we're going to remove the intake and the turbo inlet, and in order to do that we start by pulling this little thing off. So it's got a button you push in, it pops off. Put it in a safe place, and then very delicately remove this shroud, really delicately. And then there's a bolt here and a bolt here that hold on this beautiful integrated engineering intake. If you have the stock one, there's bolts in the exact same place. So when you're putting these back into the carbon fiber, I would highly advise against using any power tools. Do it by hand. and just make sure you don't over torque it or crack the carbon fiber when you're doing it. So this is now loose. We will next loosen these clamps and remove this silicone hose, and then we can pull this out. So this is the wire from the oxygen sensor that comes right down here. It was in these two plastic keepers. We removed it from there. And it runs down and plugs in right there. So we're going to disconnect this. That way we don't twist the wires up when we...
All right, go for it.
Okay, so there's this keeper right here that the oxygen sensor goes into. Slide a screwdriver in this hole and it should release. And then after that, you pull the red tab out and just remove the plug. So that leaves you with this. This can turn freely here, so we don't need to try and fish this back out. We'll just undo the oxygen sensor right now and move on to the next step. So use an O2 removal wrench, O2 sensor removal wrench. I'll get these words right one of these times.
Yeah.
And then get this thing off of there. Usually if you just break it loose, the rest of it happens pretty easy. And just make sure the whole cable is turning so that you're not twisting those wires. There we go. And if you can see how mine is orange, that is the result of running some of the VP Octanium additive that I've run for some of the stage 1 testing that I've done. So before we put this back together, we'll clean that off and we won't be running that anymore. So the next thing I'm going to take off is the V-band clamp, just because it's here and I can feel accomplished. Get your Torx bit and just unscrew it like it's not off. Then we'll want a screwdriver and a hammer. Okay.
Where are we at now?
Removing the V-band clamp. It gets pretty tight on here and we don't really want to damage all the heat shielding or the turbo or anything. So the easiest thing to do is just give it a few light taps. And these channels should break loose.
Don't bust your knuckles.
Thank you. Okay, so we've removed the O2 sensors. The next thing we want to remove is going to be the turbo inlet, whether this is an aftermarket one, like this beautiful one from IE that we have, or if you've got the stock one, you're going to want to get it out of the way. First things first, we're going to want to remove this part, and then we can get this wiring harness out of the way and tackle the two amazingly difficult bolts that exist. However, I have a new secret weapon. So let's get this off and the harness out of the way and see if it works. Ouch. So that's done. So this should get in here and loosen these bolts really easy. On this top one, it's not as critical actually. But for this bottom bolt, it's hopefully a game changer from all my other experiences with the turbo inlet.
Get that little buddy out of there.
You ready to video something?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so one thing I really like about the IE turbo inlet is it comes in two pieces, and you get this main inlet part, and then you get the adapter flange. So this one's for the stock turbo. We have a new one that's specifically made for the TTE710. But the nice thing about it is it does actually make installation slightly easier.
All right, so this inlet pipe is off. That bolt on the bottom is really hard, but don't forget there's also a little connection on the bottom of this. So this connector right here that goes in the bottom has just this little squeeze style clamp that when you squeeze it open, it releases on those other sides. After getting that inlet pipe off, which for most people, if you don't have that cast piece, will probably be a lot easier, it is to loosen up this, I think there's a charge pipe coming across here so that we can pull it back just enough to get to the bolt heads that are right here on the top and the bottom. There's one that is around the underside there that you can feel, not really see. So we're gonna try disconnecting the passenger and the driver side of this pipe right here, just so we can get enough space to pull this back to take those out. All right, so here I am trying to take out these bolts for the passenger side of this pipe. I'm using a 1/4 inch socket with the Torx bit that fits these, and these bolts are capacitive, so they're not gonna come out and fall out anywhere. So just try not to drop your tools. We've got an extension on there, a 1/4 inch socket, and then the Torx bit into that. So if you already have the right Torx bit on that size, it might be a little bit easier. So I've got the 2 bolts loosened on this side. There's a third one that kind of creates a triangle that is tucked away. Oh, you can just barely see it back in there. So you're gonna have to go underneath this pipe to feel it and use your best light you got. All right, so once you get the 3 bolts loosened up, so you can just see that they're just hanging in there, you can get just a little, a screwdriver right in between where this connects. And don't go too crazy, but just give it a little pry, and you can tug out on the pipe while you twist. It'll just help pop it off there. All right, to get these bolts down here on this charge pipe, this is what I use, the 1/4 inch ratchet with an extension, 1/4 inch socket, and then your Torx bit on the end there. And you can see I've got just a little bit of blue tape in there to help keep that in there. Otherwise, that little bit might slip out and fall into who knows where, right?
The under tray.
All right, so now you can see we've got that popped apart. A little bit of wiggle action. Now Jeremy's working on this side over here. And so how many screws or bolts do you see here for this?
There's 2 on the top that I see, and I'm assuming there's 2 on the bottom.
Yeah, it looks like there might be some down there as well. So we're gonna get this disconnected, and that should allow, you know, that screw passes all the way through to this side. That should allow us to pull that off and pull this piece forward enough to get to that guy right there. There's just too little of room.
This moves pretty easy. I'm on the struggle bus with this bolt.
All right, we've got the top 2 out. Now we're gonna work on the bottom. This is the easier of the 2 on the bottom. So
yeah, there's a
we
piece
still
of
have
wiring harness in the way on the other one.
Yeah, we still have the same setup that we were using over on this side, so should be able to use that and get these ones out too. All right, to get this last one out, we're going to attempt to take out this clip right here. It's going to make it a little bit easier to access the bolt head that's hiding right back in there. So what did we just realize we could do?
Alternatively, you could just move this pipe out of the way since you already took the clamp off, you can just get it out of the way.
Yeah. And
then it'll make it much easier to get down. I mean, it's still a challenge, right? You still have this wiring harness that's all in there. So if you happen to have one of these, you can put just this thing on here and get that in there. And Adam was very excited. It was the first time he got to use it.
Very first time. I've had it for at least a year. All right, so now you can separate the throttle body.
Yep.
Show me if we can move that charge pipe much back that way. Oh, you're just taking the whole thing out, huh?
Well, I just...
I don't want to lose parts.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing we're videoing this.
Yeah.
I know how it goes back together. I got excited about it.
So
no, there's a pipe, there's another pipe.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think we're just going to have to work with what we got there. I mean, that gives us a little bit more flexibility.
What are we trying to do right now?
We're trying to take off this guy in here.
Okay.
It's basically, if we look at, this turbo here, we've already taken off the throttle body, not the throttle body, the inlet, and now we're taking off this section here. So you can see if I look at the arrangement that it's going to be a top and bottom position bolt as well. Super easy.
Do we know what size Torx that is?
It's probably the same size we've been using.
What's the link to the special weapon tool here?
All right, what is it?
I don't know. It's a little tool.
All right, show us how you get
and uses the bits.
Show us how you get your tool in there.
So you pull back a little bit very gently on the charge pipe and get your special tool in there. And then you slip it in place and then it'll be interesting to see if we can get this out because as the bolt backs out, it's putting pressure on the charge pipe. So.
And so just like these down here, I think that bolt is capacitive, so it won't actually slide all the way out. You'll just basically stop backing out to a point.
Capacitive or captive?
Captive.
Cool.
Thank you.
I mean, I didn't know if it was like electrical. Or...
Captive is the word that I was aiming for. Sweet. So you wiggled it out?
Yeah, I pulled this out just because as the bolt or the screw was backing out, we were getting less and less play. So I don't know how much further this has to come out.
I would say at this point, if it's easy enough, get your needle nose pliers in there and grab the head of that screw.
What if I grab the neck?
Yeah, the neck is good. Is it twisting?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm getting really tiny turns on this. There. Now it's out.
All right, so it was a bit challenging getting that bolt out on the underside of the turbo outlet. But this is again what we used paired with some needle nose pliers. What I found was that as I started trying to ratchet this thing back, the bolt was too loose and just kept spinning in place. So I used needle nose pliers to grab onto the extension to provide resistance so that I could actually ratchet this thing back and get it turning. And now we're disconnected. Onto the oil and coolant lines, which Jeremy can do since it's right there on top. And
these fat man hands can get in there.
Pull up on this side. There we go.
Yeah, not much oil coming out.
Yep.
Get that out of the way.
So yeah, I would start by taking off this right here, and then you can take that one off. Or I guess you could go either way.
Well, it doesn't really appear to be flexible like the other one, so we'll have to see how this goes.
Well, it does. Oh, you're right. You're right. Maybe there's a flex joint right in there though.
We shall find out. Okay, so for this side.
Let me come to the other side here.
For this side, there's not enough room with the extension, so just get your tool in here. Can't do it one-handed though. And these bolts come out pretty easy, so I would just recommend breaking them loose and then using your fingers to remove them the rest of the way. You know, just shove this down in there.
That'll be trying to soak anything up, yeah.
There it goes. Oh, that's, I guess, not that much cooler.
Yeah, I mean, once we have the turbo out, that should be pretty easy to sop up.
Yeah.
So now we've got one more coolant line right here.
Yep. And that is
There's
also
right
connected
here.
right,
Oh, no.
here.
Yeah, I don't think it is flexible. All right, are we certain that we need to remove this side?
No.
Let's see if you have some flexibility.
I just don't want to bust that tab
Yeah,
off. There it goes.
bending one of those ears would be tough. There we go.
That was pretty easy
All
compared
right.
to the other.
Cool, so you took out the screw here and here, and that gave you a little bit of flexibility to kind of move it around.
Yeah,
but it looks like it's actually flexible.
Yeah, I think there's a flex part right here. Now, what I don't know, did he take the whole thing out?
No. Well,
No.
he didn't. Yeah, he didn't say.
Oh. Well, I took the whole thing out. It wasn't too bad. But let's get them down.
There's some coolant in your engine. All right, here on the driver's side, well, hold on, let's take a look. All right, so we've got coolant line off over here, oil line popped off here. We completely removed the coil line here, so took it off from the block and the turbo. The last line that we have to take out is this little one that's back in here. Let's see if you can see that.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, I think we're gonna have to, because you can see that bolt right there is like a heart, it's like a flange holding it on.
Yeah,
Flange.
it's like a bracket.
Bracket. Got to take off the bracket, pop it out, and it's time to start unbolting this turbo.
Got it.
So then I would say just kind of reach in there and see if you can kind of wiggle and pry and pop. Yeah, give it one of these. I don't think it would hurt anything, but you could probably even get a screwdriver in there just to kind of try and provide some pressure on that bend right there while you wiggle.
Just wish my hands weren't so like meaty.
Meaty. There it is. See? Exactly what I told you. All right, cool. There we go, it's coming out. Now we start unbolting the turbo. All right, what are we doing?
We are removing these first 4 bolts that are the easy ones to get to.
Yes, these are the triple squares on top, right?
Yep. Lloyd, you can't triple square, double square. Anyone who knows their Dumb and Dumber knows what I'm talking about. I have lost faith in
Oh no,
tool.
it's not torquey enough.
Look at this. This is not even hard.
What?
Your thing, Milwaukee, if you're listening.
Hold on. Were you tightening it, or? I don't know, man.
I don't know. But I'm not having any
That should have
problem
worked.
here.
That should have worked. Okay. So we'll get those 4 off,
There.
then get your nuts off.
Get your nuts off.
12, what size triple square is that? Look at the number 12.
Doesn't tell
It
you.
says right here on the X10. That's a number 10 triple square.
Oh, that's where it says.
Yeah, it's coated. And then once we get those nuts off, there's the actual 12 millimeter nuts on the bottom side. So there are 2 on each side. 3 of them are relatively easy to get. The 4th one, which is kind of the passenger side front, I think we're gonna have to take off the wastegate actuator to go from this direction to get at it.
Which one's the hard one?
This guy. So that you can see it if you go this direction.
I don't think that'll be that bad.
So we've got nuts removed. We're getting the one off the other side there. Hard to see from this angle, but there's a nut basically right down behind the turbo. You can see where the stud on this side is off.
There's a stud over here too. So, these handy dandy S wrenches that ratchet are lifesavers. These bolts here on this bracket that the actuator is attached to are 10 millimeter. So you can get this in here and you can ratchet that off, and you can get this tricky one down at the bottom to ratchet that off as well.
I'd like to point out that the oil filter is also removed. And the whole point for this is we have to remove this actuator assembly to get to the nut that is on the passenger front of the turbo.
Yeah, however, I removed the oil cap when I removed the 2 bolts on the back of the actuator, thinking I could pull this off.
Oh, right.
But I wasn't able to. It doesn't travel far enough this way in order to let me get the actuator out. So we're removing the bracket instead. And to do that, you don't actually have to remove the oil filter.
All right, actuator bracket is off. Oh my gosh. Now we have clear line of sight to that nut down in there, but
You think we can get it?
I think we can. So yeah, we didn't have to take off the linkage for this actuator, but we have it just kind of swung over.
I heard it's a straight shot. I believe it is on there.
Oh man.
So
Let's get your... Oh yeah, see if that thing has enough torque. Did you pop it off?
It is off. All right, so we removed that final bolt there, and the last thing we want to do is remove this plug from the
It's a relief valve on the compressor side.
yeah, cool. All right, and then
And this, if you haven't already
if you haven't already removed this compression, it's just, you know, you pinch the side in and pop it out. And then finally, we're gonna lift straight up on the turbo. Oh, and if you haven't already, remove the V-band from the downpipe. So straight up on the turbo, there's a compression, another compression hose underneath that will come off when we lift straight up. And then there's a couple of things on the actual turbo that will transfer over. We'll get into that in just a sec.
There she blows.
Okay.
In all her glory. Hold on, you got oh, you pulled up the whole, yeah, that whole line on the bottom came up. I think that's how it's supposed to come. There we go, she dripping. Nice, our turbo box.
Turbo out. Let's make sure that's steady enough.
Yeah. Show me that baby real quick.
Check out this downpipe. It's got like the crazy legs. And this is like way huge.
Well, it just matches the opening of the turbo.
Yeah, it does. Is the turbo that much huger?
The opening of the turbo is that same opening, yeah.
Oh.
It has only like that same amount around the V-band.
Got it. All right, so the challenging part would be to get the gaskets to line up. All right, so we now have the IE integrated engineering downpipe fully in place. It was really easy with the turbo out to get the bolts in place, but also this crab leg looking thing makes a big difference. You're able to get into all the angles that you need to. We also used the ratcheting S wrenches for part of it, and teamwork helps to have somebody hold.
Yeah, I had one hand free from back here.
These are, you know, you've got a nut and a bolt, so you want to make sure nothing's spinning and you're holding it from both sides when you're tightening it down. Once you get a certain amount of pressure on there, you're able to tighten it all the way.
Yeah, I think the nut and bolt presents a little bit of an issue, but it actually, with the turbo in, I think it would make it a lot easier getting the downpipe in, because you're only dealing with the studs that are on the lower section.
Right. And there are times, even when I was getting all the nuts off of the Red Star downpipe that was in place, having something like this or a bigger impact wrench really helped to get the nuts off of there without doing a lot of damage, or, you know, because while that is able to get you in and on the studs or on the nuts, you know, it doesn't afford you a lot of ability to then
apply
release
torque,
pressure and apply torque to a regular ratchet.
Yeah.
So just some food for thought on that part.
And now
we're gonna put the any of the leftover pieces from the stock turbo go on our brand new TTE710, and then we're gonna put the new TTE710 in place. Can't wait. So now we have a couple things to transfer from the old turbo to the new turbo. One of them is this exhaust piece of pipe here. We're gonna get this with a triple square and an extension, and you can probably just use a regular ratchet, but as we said earlier, Adam likes us to use this. So we're gonna get it in here and yep, let's get it loose. We're gonna need a screwdriver to pry that.
pop.
That is good. Goes in just like that.
Okay.
Just want to make sure that we're very careful when we're not over tightening these, because this is a plastic housing. We don't want to either break or crack this, nor do we want to strip out the turbo housing. So I chose to use just a hand tight method and just make sure it was good and snug. And I'm gonna call that good.
Let's get this bastard off of here.
Okay.
Oh, and that's where that gasket. I've seen one of those.
Yeah, we definitely have that. All right, so we've got the new clamp, which we ordered. Links are below. There's a new gasket. It's kind of a nice little retainer gasket that pops on there. And then we'll put this on first. And I'm putting everything back in the same orientation that it was previously. All right, so we're gonna put everything back in the same orientation that it was, which we've just reviewed video to make sure that we are. And
Here you go.
I'm just gonna tighten this a bit. And then I think the last thing is gonna be this oil piece here.
So there's a plastic screw that just takes a flathead here.
Okay.
You're gonna undo that and it should pop right out like the others.
All right, so there's a little flathead. Is this a screw?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here's the deal. So we broke that plastic screw, but here's what I'm thinking. This grommet is really just holding this piece in, and the turbo and the block are sandwiching this oil line in place. And I think that little screw, its only purpose in life is just to hold the orientation of this so that when you've got it attached to the turbo and you're putting it back in, so that you know it's pointed the right direction. I think we're gonna end up putting this back in. Well, Jeremy might be making a new one to hold it. I think we can just put it in without it. You know, because when we stick it in there, it's not gonna twist around. We're gonna know that it's in the right orientation already. Mad scientist in his plastic workshop. And go.
Oh, I put that in.
All right, so now we have this oil tube in here. What else do we need to transfer over? Is that it?
That is all.
All right, before we put the turbo on though, we need to put the right spacer on for your inlet tube.
Correct.
Or adapter.
Yep. We're just double checking a couple of things and then we'll get into that. I don't know why I always say all right. So you have the new TTE710 specific adapter for the IE Turbo Inlet, which is what I'm using. The TTE Turbo comes with a gasket on this side already, on the turbo side. And so the TTE adapter is completely flat over here. If you look at the adapter that was on the stock turbo, there is an O-ring on either side of that adapter. So make sure if you're gonna do this, and you've got the IE Turbo Inlet, that you purchase the 710 specific adapter. And it lines up perfectly. We're gonna put the screws in and tighten it down, and then move on to the next steps. Hopefully getting this turbo in soon. The next step is to change out these brackets or these gaskets because we have new ones.
Yeah.
And
on the exhaust bank there?
Yeah, and then place brand new turbo, or place, yeah, the brand new turbo in. Like this.
Yeah, and pull that plug out of there. Nice.
They're gonna line up with the port from each side. So if you notice, when you put this in, there's a side here that has two ridges and then a side that has a single ridge. This one goes inside facing the block and this side goes facing the turbo port. And I believe that ridge will line it up with the port from the turbo.
We'll probably disassemble the actuator once it's on in place to get that one nut.
Turbo blanket.
Turbo blanket! You feeling funky?
Feeling funky.
Just got the turbo blanket on there. Looks nice. This is the carbon version.
Yes. And just so you can see how it sits on here, you have one side that goes up to this port, and then on the other side, the blanket stops just above the exhaust port here, and you route the springs, as I'm sure Adam has shown you with the video, through here and then down from here and around. And it looks like I'm bleeding.
I think I am too. Yeah, it's kind of sharp.
Yeah.
There we go. We're able to just kind of tuck it up in there, just kind of pull it around. So it's good.
All right, let's put this turbo on.
Yeah, put the turbo. Let me go first. All right.
Okay, we're gonna aim.
Give me a push the well, here. Okay, there we go.
This is the very first drive with the new turbo on, so we'll have to see how it goes. I'm just trying to get everything warmed up right now.
Things are, I wouldn't say crackly, but so far they're kind of burbly. We got one kind of rat-a-tat-tat, but maybe we'll see what it's like when we get on it. Okay, there it is.
Okay, I can make it burble if I want, or crackle
Yeah,
if I want.
yeah. This car makes me nervous. And then now you have potentially 650 plus. Well, we'll say 650 plus.
Yeah.
I think is the conservative guesstimate right now.
Yeah.
That's so nutty to think. Well, I'll just be quiet so everybody can hear.
You know, it's nice though. I just put it in
Yeah.
D, shut it right up. Easy peasy. I like how you can shut it on and off like that. I think that's a big deal.
Oh yeah. I don't think I would ever get something that you couldn't. You know, for being having a fan. I think it lost traction. I don't know, maybe not. Or was that a shift?
I don't know.
It's kind of a herky jerk.
Let's I don't see
Wait,
boost.
wait for a. Oh, you got no boost?
I don't see
Do we
boost.
just pop something off?
Potentially.
We can pull up into one of the neighborhoods here and limp it back home if need be. It doesn't sound much different.
Yeah, we got no boost.
No boost. We pop something off. I bet you it's that throttle body.
Hose?
I mean, yeah, throttle body hose. I'm sure that's the only fitting that we took off. That was like a clamp.
Maybe.
Where you wanna go?
Kind of want to go home
Yeah,
and then figure it out.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Like, I obviously can't do anything with it right now.
Yeah,
Shut that off.
yep. I'm recording just in case we catch on fire.
That's
Something that you couldn't, you know, for being having a fan. I think it lost traction.
no.
I don't know, maybe not. It's good. Just pop the hood real quick and we'll see what's up. Oh, she's smoky.
Oh yeah.
Yep, right there.
Oh okay.
That's it. So just slip it on and Yeah, we're getting that burn in. Yeah, just be gentle with it going home. You might want to, yeah, when you redo that, move the clamp further this way and just really aggressively tighten it down.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Turbo blanket though, huh?
Huh?
That turbo blanket is.
It'll find its home there.
Yeah.
It smells like a grill though. All right.